All right, awesome. Hey everyone, thank you for being here. I hope you're having an amazing Hackfest so far. And I'm very excited to be here today. Even more excited because we're talking about the subject that I love, application security. Today's talk is going to be From Code to Security, Mastering the Art of AppSec. All right, so who am I? My name is Justin Landry. I'm an application security specialist. I am CICP certified, and I'm also a dad of a beautiful 4 months old daughter. Uh, I'm passionate about a couple things. The main one, my main hobby right now is OMLab. My OMLab is in the top left picture there. Pretty old picture. It's a bit more clumsy now, but I think OMLab is a fantastic hobby to have in the IT world. So for those who don't know, OMLab is some sort of simulation of a small-scale enterprise level server you can have at home. For me personally in this, I have a 3-node cluster running on Proxmox as an hypervisor and Kubernetes on 3 different nodes. I personally use it to learn infrastructure as code. I didn't have any experience with Ansible and Terraform before, so I used it to deploy my server with Terraform and Ansible and learn it this way. So when I got into work, I had these skills up and ready. You can also use it to learn networking, firewalls, WAFs, or any tools you want that has some sort of community or free license. It's an amazing hobby to develop new skills. Also passionate about dogs. I love dogs. This was my dog Jack that I lost last month while working on this talk, so I kept him as a memory. Also fan of security, of course, any type of security, physical or application security. Also CTF. You might not see me there, but I'm on the right table there. This was at Hackfest Infinity, I think it's 2016, still when we were a basement of a hotel. So we go way back. Also passionate about being lazy, okay? It might sound weird, but I think in IT, it's essential or a very good skill to be lazy because when you have a repetitive task or a task you find boring, when you're lazy, you'll find a way to automate it or at least maybe delegate it. But let's keep it to automation. You'll find a way to automate it. And if you're even more lazy, like me, you'll find someone that automated it. Or at least, something on GitHub. Or if you're even lazier, you'll go on ChatGPT and ask him, hey, how can I automate this? All right, so why did I choose this topic? Why did I choose to come here and talk about application security? Well, to me, application security is something that I'm very passionate about, and I feel that we don't really talk about it enough, and it's the main reason. Since I've been here at Hackfest, we don't really talk about AppSec that much, and I also think that there's a big misunderstanding. People think that we pen test things, that we break things, or maybe we're just here to push vulnerabilities into developers' backlogs. But no, AppSec is way more than that. And I'm here to talk about the reason why AppSec exists and the value it brings to organization. And speaking of value, I want to speak about the value it brings to organization, but also to people that choose this career path. Last one, we've seen it, in the latest news. Hackers are getting smarter, vulnerabilities are getting more sophisticated, and also laws and regulation are getting more strict, way more strict on organization. These fines are getting heavy. It's getting expensive for these organizations, so they're investing in AppSec, and I think it's a very good career path for people that have interest in security and also development. All right, so what are we going to talk about today? We're going to dig into what is application security first, talk about my journey from transitioning from a developer to AppSec, talk a bit about the day-to-day task, some skills and learning paths, some tips to survive in the AppSec world, and I'll give a bit of an idea how to break into AppSec. All right, so let's dig into what is AppSec. I first like to imagine a world without AppSec. You have the blaming game, I like to call. It's where developers and security pointing fingers at each other because they don't want to be responsible for each other's tasks. Developers here, hey, I'm just here to write quality code. Leave me alone with your security stuff. And security like, well, you're making holes everywhere. You're making things unsecure. Deal with it. And this is where AppSec comes in, the hero. I call it the man in the middle because similar to a man in the middle attack, it kind of sits between security and developers, and is there to fix both each other's problems. So with AppSec as a developer background, at least a coding background, and some security knowledge, will help developer and security achieve their goal. All right, one thing I want to make clear before we dive deeper in AppSec, sometimes I heard it again this morning. People think we're here to pen test or break application, but there's 2 different goals. You can be a more blue team oriented AppSec, or you can be a more red team oriented AppSec, and it makes a clear difference on your day-to-day and what you're going to do. A blue team, defense mindset, red team, the attack mindset. So if you're a red team AppSec, you'll be doing offensive security, pen testing, some sort of black box testing. So being outside of the code. You might do some social engineering, just ways to find to break the application. And when you're a blue team, you'll be doing vulnerability management, code security, threat modeling, or incident response, and things from the inside of the company. And today's talk is going to be focused on blue team. I could have done another hour on red team, but I chose today to pick on blue team because I feel it's the less known version of AppSec. All right, so I tried to break it into four. I could have went for hours to talk about what is AppSec, but let's keep it that way. Let's keep it simple. The first main goal of AppSec is to do proactive defense, okay? What you're trying to do is implement security in the SDLC. The SDLC is the software development lifecycle. It's all the stages that developers go through and development teams go through to deliver an application, okay? It goes from analysis, design, developing, testing, deploying to production, and maintaining the app, okay? And AppSec goal is to be there early by doing a shift left focus. So in these early stages, when we're looking at the horizontal line on the left, okay, we're doing a shift left. So when you take your security lenses, you shift to the left, okay, and you look at the early stages, and that's where AppSec wants to be. You want to be there when they're still thinking about the architecture, about the technical ways they're going to do the application. And it's kind of similar when you're building a house and maybe you want to install security cameras or fire alarms. You want to think ahead when you're going to be putting these cameras, because if you wait later, you have to poke holes in your walls. You won't be having the security you wanted. It might not have the right angle. It's similar. If you wait too long to implement security, well, it's somewhat too late, or it's too expensive, or the PM will say like, come back later. It'll be too late. And to help us do the secure by design, so having that application that is by design secured, so the early stages, you will be doing threat modeling. Threat modeling, to be simple, is an exercise where you will project yourself in the future and think about potential threats. What could attack us? Who can attack us? And how? And try to put roadblocks for these potential threats. You'll try to think about, hey, we might need needing some input validation here, some type of encryption. So you want to think ahead instead of later. So instead of having reactive controls, you want to be there to put proactive controls. Oops, I just spoiled myself. All right, so the next thing, AppSec is a collaborative effort. AppSec cannot be done on its own because you need the help of developers, of course, that is doing the code. PMs, you need to exchange it with them. When there's new vulnerabilities, you need to be talk with them and pushing it to them. You'll be working also with GRC security teams. GRC is your governance, risk, and conformity. So when you're doing with compliance and risk, you'll be talking with GRC, your security team when you're handling investigation incidents. And of course, executive leadership, right? Who doesn't love talking security with your executive leadership? AppSec is no different. You will have to. And in the later slide that I spoiled, we will talk a bit more about how AppSec interacts with the leadership. Continuous monitoring. Having proactive defense is great, but if you're not monitoring or looking at the maturity of your controls, there's just no point, right? It's very cool to have the latest and greatest firewall 3,000, 9,000, I don't know what they're called now, but having these controls is nice. But if you're not evaluating or making sure they're doing their jobs, there's no point, right? So what you'll do in AppSec is you'll have maybe an vulnerability management program of the sort. So something that will tell some sort of policy that will tell the rest of the organization how to deal with vulnerabilities, from identifying, remediating, the SLAs, the how, the who, and everything. So you want to build a good program that tells everyone, hey, we take security seriously, and we deal with vulnerabilities from the get-go. When we find them, we fix them by their severity level. From this program, you might create some key metrics. Key metrics are good, mostly for leadership. When they're asking the numbers, this is what you'll give to them. Something like how many vulnerability was open, solved, your MTTR, so your mean time to remediation for these vulnerabilities, things that are good to show to leadership to prove the worth of your program. You might also be doing pen testing and bug bounty. Pen testing, red team from the inside or a third party, to keep on evaluating your controls, because when you think about it, the proactive controls are going to end up in production, and with bug bounty and pen testing, this is where you're going to test them. And one of the key point of AppSec is user awareness. One of the other objective is educating developers and the rest of the company on security. Because when you think about it, security, the ratio of AppSec to developers is fairly low. Sometimes you'll have one or two AppSec person per hundreds of developers. So you cannot be there to evaluate and look at every single line of code. So it is a bit difficult if you're really trying to be there and be there for the developers. It'll be difficult. So what you want to do is do some education. One ways I do it on my current company is we have a security champion meeting each month when I ask people that want to and like to talk about security. And we meet every month and we talk about security. We talk about security like maybe something that I implemented in their pipelines and in their IDE that they like or don't like. I'm open to both. Or maybe things they want to see or things I want to see them doing better. And this is where it's just good ways of spreading security awareness, that way. The second thing you might want to do is implement some sort of secure coding training platform. There's many out there that offer this. So it's sort of gamification for developers to learn the best security practice in their code. So you'll be giving them a platform and probably put a requirement for them to do some training. This will help them from the get-go get some security basis, and you won't have to be there to repeat yourself all the way. All right. So like I mentioned, we will be dealing with executive leadership in any security role that we do. And I think one of the main things you want to do when you enter a new organization is learning or looking for who's pushing security. For me, I've seen it in two ways. I've seen the bottom-up approach where the security team is itself pushing security, so to do security features or new security tools or initiatives, pushing it to the top to the new leadership and presenting your initiative, and then after approval, you will be pushing it down on the rest of the company. Versus the top-down approach, where you might have a CISO or director of security, maybe a board that will push the security initiative on the rest of the company. And this is where AppSec will have two different roles, and many IT roles will have, IT teams will have two different roles. On the top-down approach, you will be there to make sure that the whatever initiative is pushed by security or your director is succeeding. Meanwhile, when you're bottom-up approach, you want to think about them, make sure that they have some worth for your company. You have to prove its value, push it, upstairs, get approval, and then lead this initiative. All right, let's talk value. The first thing, when we talk value, it has to be money related, right? Everything in a company is based on money, so AppSec is no different. Let's talk money. AppSec is cost efficient when you think about it. When you really do good AppSec, it will be cost efficient. I'm not sure if you can see very well in the little image, but on the x-axis, you have all the SDLC stages, and the y-axis, you have the cost multiplier. So what this image means is that if you do security from the get-go in the early stages of the SDLC, you'll have a one-time or three-time, a very low cost to fix vulnerabilities, compared to if you wait later in production, it will be costly. It will cost you a lot of money because you have to do the entire process once and again. And if it gets even worse, if something bad happened, right? In security, we always say it's not a matter of if, but when it happened. So if something happened in your production environment, well, you have to fix it because you didn't have any controls. You're not doing your code quality, your code security, good. So you have to fix what's in production, fix the incident, and then get back in an urgent matter because something happened, and then fix it all again and get it into the pipeline again. And this will be even more costly. And following on the train of thought, if you wait, to do reactive controls, to wait for something to happen to fix things, well, you will be having a little call from one of these organizations, maybe the PIPE DA, GDPR, or Law 25 in Quebec, which is getting a bit better, from one of these, and be like, hey, you owe us a little bit of money because you went against what we asked you to do. So if you had a PI a disclosure, a data breach of the sort, AppSec will help you with these reactive controls by doing something simple as input validation or put a good encryption. It will help you stay compliant. And lastly, AppSec helps you stay breach-free. No, of course not, because AppSec cannot be there everywhere and everyone. You cannot help everyone at once. Like I mentioned, the ratio of developers and AppSec is fairly small, and you cannot do everything. But what an AppSec can help you do is build the customer trust, build some reputation, build the competitive advantage, because AppSec can help you get your SOC 2, your FedRAMP, your ISO 27001, all these certifications that make you look better, gives you that little edge over another vendor that might do something similar to your tool. And when your potential clients look for vendors Well, they will send security questionnaire, these famous security questionnaire. And when you have AppSec and you have these controls, you will have an easier time answering these questionnaire and getting this client for you. So AppSec can help you do all of this. All right, let's talk a bit about my career. I don't want to go too deep into it, but just give you an idea of how I transitioned from developers to AppSec today. Started my career in the insurance world as an intern and developer. And then I got a very good offer to work at a bank as a developer, but on the fraud and security team. So giving me a little bit of that security knowledge where we were working to stop threat actors from accessing bank infos and finding new ways and just playing games with these threat actors and how they were bypassing some of our security controls and just from a developer perspective doing security. So that was good. I did that for a couple years. Then I really wanted to jump into cybersecurity, but as many of us, I just didn't know how. It was so so difficult and just the unknown, right? It was the void for me. I just didn't know how to jump into cybersecurity. So I decided to listen to an advice that I got and look at internal job posting. And this is why I found a security job that didn't have much description on it or outlines or maybe things that I didn't understand, but hey, I just wanted in. So I applied, got a really good talk with a recruiter, and I got in. And then after a couple weeks, I was like, is this really security? Is this really, what it is to stop really bad actors? And then I realized, well, I didn't know it was called that, but I accepted a GRC job. And from coming from a developer background, it was something. From in a GRC, you're writing policies, guidelines. You have a really high level view, a bird eye view on everything happening in your organization. And from a banking point of view, it was very difficult for me going from typing code to looking at policies and making analyzing risk. It was a bit too much, but still I was very grateful for the opportunity. So I went to one of my mentor and asked him, how can I prove myself? How can a guy with a developer background prove itself in the GRC world? He said, well, certification is one of the ways when you're already in a company to prove yourself. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And he said, Security Plus is a good one. But you have others also. It's like, what are the others possible one? He said, well, CISSP is like the golden standard of certification. I was like, all right, let's give myself a challenge. So I think we were mid-April, and I dedicated my whole life in learning CISSP. I made it my entire life, nights, weekends, everything. Because for those who don't know, CISSP covers 8 domains of cybersecurity, from risk management, physical security, architecture. It covers everything. And then the domain 8 is software development security. That's the only part where I found a word that I knew what it meant, because we were talking databases. And that was such a challenge for me because I didn't have a cybersecurity degree. I just have your regular computer science degree. So for me, learning all of these was something. And then when I learned the exam, ask you to maintain 70% in all of these domains, and it's an algorithm-based exam that literally you cannot go back to a question. I wanted to cry. I wanted to give everything up and really stop. But I was dedicated. I was on a journey. And for me, it wasn't really about the paper, but about the knowledge, right? I didn't want to go back to school. It was a bit too much for me. So CISSP was my one-way stop to security, and I was looking for it, and I was going for it. And after, I think it was 2.5 months after dedicating my whole life, my girlfriend came to me and it's like, in Quebec, we don't have a really long summer. She said, you're not spending your entire summer inside learning and just, bashing your heads against CISSP. You either pass it now or you wait. And I said, let's give it a try. And it's also a 750 USD cost. And now back then I could still do it in Montreal, thank God. Now you have to go to Ontario. Sorry for those guys who wants to do exams. But yeah, I drove to Montreal, got the exam, passed on the first try. I was really happy. But still, for me, it wasn't really about the paper, but more about the journey and the mentality and what it teaches you. And for me, certification is entirely about that. It's what it teaches you, what it's trying to teach you, and not really about the paper you get at the end of the year. It's good. The paper is good. It gets you through HR screens, but it doesn't make you a security guru in any way. I know a lot of people preach for them, but I'm not in that. I think the knowledge is good, but the paper is okay, but knowledge is better. Once I found that, I did a couple more months in GRC. But while I was studying for CSSP, I learned or found out that I could mix my developer background and my GRC experience and make it into AppSec. I was like, holy hell, I found what I want to do in life. And while working on the GRC role, I gave it a little bit more time. Then I was looking for an AppSec position. I found a position in an insurance company as my first AppSec experience. It was great. It was insurance, so it was, the big leagues. But it was still, a bit laid back because, insurance, a little bit more strict on security, gave me a chance to learn while understanding, industry standards. And on the AppSec team there, mature their programs, mature the CI/CD, mature their tooling, and just bring a new view on their AppSec program that was a bit old and needed some maturity. And then from there, find my current position at an HR tech company, which is the complete opposite of insurance, where we push tools and applications and programs to clients. We are known for Office Vibe and ShareGate. We're a Montreal-based company. We make work simple, as they call it. I'm the AppSec lead there, and yeah, having fun. All right. So let's talk about some lesson learned I learned from all of this transition. Well, the first one is the obvious developer background, right? If you want to work in AppSec, having a developer background is, I don't want to say a hard requirement, but at least, having a very good coding background is going to help you a lot, because it's more than just learning about how to code. It's learning, all the day-to-day that a developer go through. And that's something I do not envy you guys developers, going through all these agile meetings and all these scrum meetings and having at the end of the day maybe 1 hour to code. I don't envy that. But just knowing what they have to go through with the PMs, the pressure, the pressure to deliver quality code on maybe a very tight deadline, it's something that it give you a big advantage in AppSec. Second one, the famous imposter syndrome. I had it when I started developer. I got it back when I worked in GRC, and it came back when I started in AppSec. And I don't think there's any recipe you can follow to get rid of it. But for me, it was just embracing the process, accepting that security, you will not always have the answers. People expect you to when they come to me. They expect you to know everything about security. And with my CSSP, I might think, oh yeah, I'm a god. I know everything about cybersecurity. But what people don't know is that CSSP is known as being a mile wide and an inch deep. So you're just a jack of all trades and master of none. I can talk about a fence being 6 feet, but that's about it. Don't ask me about anything else security. I just know the basic, right? So people, when you have security in your title, they will just come to you with any type of questions. And I found to help me with this imposter syndrome is, it's good to know how to answer them when you know the answers, but it's also very good to answer them when you do not know the answers. And something I really worked on is answering them when I didn't know what to tell them. They were talking about something. I was like, what the hell is that? So I'll just, finding a way to push them back and say, hey, I'll look for this. Let me investigate. Use some sort of word like this, and I'll come back to you. And this helped me get through my imposter syndrome because, we all know cybersecurity is a long life journey. You will learn about it every day. You might learn about new things today or tomorrow. And it's all about that. It's all about getting better every day. To get rid of that imposter syndrome, I still have it today talking on the stage, but at some point you just have to face it and you have to just get through it, right? You will doubt everything, but you have to just remember everyone's the same in the cybersecurity world. There's no one, or at least I hope, no one that is, a master of everything. So you just have to embrace the process. Lastly, soft skills. It's something that as a developer, I didn't really have to use much, but when I got into the AppSec world, soft skills, holy hell, they are very good. If you have good soft skills, they will carry you a long way. And one of my mentors in the past AppSec job told me that soft skills are better than technical skills because you can teach someone about input validation or encryption. But you gotta teach people about being nice and communicating well and being good at problem solving. So it's all about attitude over aptitude that he told me. And I found it very true because soft skills in AppSec will carry you a long way because you have to do so much relationship building, communication that we're going to talk about later, that they will carry you a long way. So invest in your soft skills as much as you invest in your technical skills. It will make you a better person, but also a better AppSec person. All right, let's get into the day-to-day. So I broke the day-to-day of an AppSec person from a blue team perspective, of course, into 2 categories. It could have went for pages, but I tried to stick to something that was relevant for today. The first one being the technicals, day-to-day tasks, answering developer question is your classic. People will come to you for all sort of question. Can be encryption, can be input validation, or any type of security questions because they don't really make the difference between for us at my work about ops security, so anything infrastructure, and myself. So sometimes you have to wear multiple hats. Um, so answering developer question is more complicated, I want to say, than just giving them the answers because, like we mentioned, the ratio of developer for AppSec is so low that if you just give them the answers, it doesn't teach them anything. It doesn't really make them aware of the risk. It doesn't really do much. And so then just giving the answers, what you want to do is make sure that they understand the problem they're facing, getting them about the risk, and then giving them a good recommendation while keeping it short and sweet for a developer that is probably lazy like me. So you want to keep it short and sweet because when you're answering the developer question, you're somewhat planting little seeds of security that will be there in the code and everywhere. So when you're making these recommendations and answering question, it's very good, and it's a good recommendation to just answer it fully and make sure that your recommendation is well understood. Second one, tech designs. Tech designs are rituals that we call in my current company. This is where we have developers and PMs go through. It's like an hour meeting where we force people to make, when they want to implement a new feature or something that is going to have a big impact, they have to create a tech designs. Tech designs, like they create a whiteboard with all the technical approach. Are they going to face this problem? Are they address this problem? And give some sort of, hey, we're going to use this technologies, this third party. And this is where I ask and I force people to invite security because we are all about these proactive controls. And like we mentioned earlier, it's all about doing threat modeling. So investing early in the early stage of SDLC, and we are there right there. When we do tech designs, we're still in the requirement phase, the designing phase, we're still in the architecture, right? So having security is crucial. I can be there to challenge them on some sort of technology they want to use, or maybe a third-party library that is owned by some sort of weird Chinese guy that I don't know about. It's all about being there early and making these little changes to them that it will have an impact on the long term. So tech designs is just is one of our ways at my company to make the threat modeling process and the early stages shift left mentality easier for us. Third one, security tools. Of course, when you work in Blue Team AppSec or any type of security, you will work with tools. In AppSec, it will be your SaaS, your DAS, your SCAs, just tools that make it easier for you and not have to be there in every PR, every single line of code because they're not the greatest tools, but at least they'll do a good job at filtering, security vulnerabilities from the get-go, from the early scans. If you're a bit crazier, you might force people to fix stuff before it's deployed, or at least fill their pipelines. I've seen in the past at the insurance company, we were failing people's pipeline or any type of DevOps if they add eyes or criticals. You can go that crazy. You can go easier. Depends on your level of, I want to say, yeah. Let's keep it nice, but it depends how crazy you want to be with developer, how strict you want to be with developers. Because if you're too strict, they'll hate you. When you will be coming at them later, they will hate your face. They will hate your name. They'll know when you're poking them. They'll take hours and days to answer you because they know you're coming with something bad for them. You'll make their backlog even worse or something, right? So, and also on security tools, it's good to invest in the latest and greatest tools, but make sure they work for your end users. Because sometimes we think as a security person, oh, let's get the latest and greatest and the nicest. But for the end users, the developer in our case, it's hell. Like I've seen tools that you still have to make a zip of your code, upload it on a website that frees your browser because the zip is too big, and then you have to wait 10 hours for the scan to finish. I was like, it might be cool for us because it gives us a nice compliance report, but for the developer, it's hell. So making these tools great for your end users, your developer, is even more important than making it good for security. And then you have your incident, your bug bounty. Incident, of course, if you're part of any security team, you'll be part of incident. Bug bounty is very cool from an aspect perspective because these people, what you do is you allow some scopes to be tested by third party external researchers, and then when they find vulnerabilities, they disclose it, and then you accept or not, and then you give them a bounty. It's super cool because they're testing with a lot of business context, and usually the vulnerabilities they find, it can be dumb as DDoSing your app, finding a way to DDoS, but it can be a very sophisticated business context, playing with roles and privileges. So bug bounty is super interesting to have, and it's even free until they find something. So it's easy to have. Pen testing, your classic. You can do it in house or or a third party, like we said, just to test your application. And then we get into the non-technical. Non-technical, you have your compliance audits. If you're going for a SOC 2 or any type of certification, you will have these compliance audits. You will probably have some sort of control, like your vulnerability management control, that you will have to present to auditors. The vulnerability management program that we talked earlier about defining, how vulnerabilities are identified and remediated in your process. You might be building some new security training because you need to keep it interesting, for these lazy developers that are trying, to just click next, next, next on your training. So you want to make it, make them understand the importance of your training, but also make it relevant for them. Risk assessment, you might be doing some sort of high-level risk assessment, or maybe on a new third-party library that a developer wants to use, of the sort. But all of these day-to-day, they all aim for the same goal. You want to drive the business forward and build a strong security culture, because no one wants that just security person that puts red tapes on all new initiatives and just makes your day-to-day hell. So you want to make sure that you drive business forward while implementing security, and that's a real challenge I feel in AppSec. Is people goes in there and they want to fix everything and they just put red tapes on new initiative that just seems scary to them, but no, it's all about building a strong security culture and enabling the business. All right, let's talk about some skills that I think are essentials if you want to succeed at AppSec. Of course, like the secure coding practices, you need to know how to know the best secure coding practices if you want to do well. You can go on secure coding platforms and learn about some sort of the principles and the key points of AppSec, like your shift left, your security by design, and your CI triad, your confidentiality, your integrity, and your availability triad, which is at the base of many of your recommendations. Next, security vulnerabilities, same thing. If you don't know what people can attack you with, it's hard to defend against them, right? So you can start with your OWASP top 10, read some bug bounty reports. I don't see many people in the field reading bug bounty reports because there are some that will, after some time, are allowed to disclose how they break into application for public programs. And it's good to read them because, like I said, it sometimes requires a lot of business context, a lot of thinking, and it can help you really learn about how people are breaking and finding new creative ways of defend against them. Your action labs and your CTF, I think CTF are amazing. They bring soft skills, technical skills together, their team working. We have an amazing one here at Hackfest. I think the CTFs are great to learn about AppSec. Next one, threat modeling. Threat modeling is so important. Like we said, when you're doing the shift left and the security by design, you want to be doing threat modeling from the get-go. So learn about threat modeling. I find the threat modeling manifesto a very good resource. It's a website. Books and online courses, of course. OWASP, a lot of knowledge there. And you can learn some methodologies like your Stride, your Pasta, and any stuff, to learn how to do threat modeling. Lastly, compliance and regulations. You have in no way to be a legal expert. I'm not asking you for that. But at least know the high-level risk that we're facing if we don't follow these laws and regulation, like your Law 25 in Quebec, PIPE-DA, and GDPR. Because when you don't follow them, you'll get some heavy fine. You might go against something that your company cannot go against. So by learning them, it's super important because when you're dealing with a PM that is pushing you back on some sort of security recommendation, just saying like it's you, but if we don't follow it, we might get 2 million fine or some numbers that you make up. But no, but just knowing that the laws and regulation are very good to learn. Just learn the higher levels. We can go to soft skills also. Like I said, soft skills are super important. Learning how to have effective communication because in AppSec, you'll have to explain an issue as a technical to a technical developer, a non-technical PMs, maybe to leadership, and they all have to understand the risk, what we're facing, who is attacking us. They want to understand everything, so you have to make sure you're effective at communicating, right? And then you need to be good at relationship building because when you're working with developers, like I said, you don't want them to hate you. You want them to work with you. When you're trying to improve their day-to-day, you don't want them to hate you back, right? So having a good relationship with PMs, developer is good, but also with your bug bounty researchers because people in your bug bounty program are not forced to be there. No one is forcing them to look for vulnerabilities in your bug bounty program. And if you treat them like hell and not being nice to them, they will just go to another one that will give them maybe more money for their findings. So keep a good relationship with everyone. Be the nice guy about security. Don't be the asshole that no one wants to work with, and just keep a good energy. Persuasion, negotiation might sound a bit extreme, but sometimes, when dealing with PMs and you want to force that vulnerabilities into the backlog because you have a pressure to fix it, you need to be good at negotiating. Maybe something doing, okay, maybe we'll take this one back, give you this one, and just doing some sort of negotiation with them. It'll be pretty important. Problem solving, collaborating, like we talked, collaboration, AppSec is all about that. So making sure that you know to work with many people, not make enemies, but make friends, and also, be good at problem solving. Because in AppSec, you'll get problems that it will break your head. I had issues in the past that even my more skilled developers didn't know about. I was like, holy hell, I am the only one that is supposed to know about this. It'll be difficult. So being good at problem solving and knowing how to be effective at problem solving is going to be key. Last one, being versatile. Like I said, developers will come at you with many questions, and we're trying to build a relationship here. So just trying to push them the right way, or having that. No, you don't want to push them the wrong way. Be their friends, and maybe you'll have to wear multiple hats, and just to be a bit better about doing a lot of things. From incident to investigation to looking at code, you need to be a bit versatile. And of course, in IT and security, you're continuous learning. All right, some tips to survive in the world of AppSec. The first is focus on what's important. Don't try to get into an organization and try to fix everything. Don't try to be the hero. Don't try to be there to solve everything. It won't work. If you're getting into a big corporation, it will be hell. If you're trying to do this, you will go straight into retirement. It will burn you alive. What I suggest you to do is understand the business context in which you operate. Understand what are we trying to do here. Okay, and then after that, try to understand. Sorry. Try to understand what is the crown jewels of this company. What can we not go on, for a day? And then once you have that, do some analysis, do some scanning, and then focus on what's important. Focus on your critical, focus on your eye, focus on what's the urgent matter, and don't really focus on everything the lows and medium, because you will have 1,000 more each day. It will never stop coming at you. Second one, learn to deal with adversity. In the development world, it might not be like that, because what you're saying is probably what you're going to end up doing. In AppSec, what you suggest is all the time going to get pushed back, or you'll get, I don't know, you'll get some mean people going after you. They'll escalate and say, I don't want to deal with this person. He's trying to push new things into my backlog. My backlog is already full. So this PM will go against you and fight against you. And you have to prove to them, and you have to, in adversity, like the gift says, find a way, a creative way to prove to them the risk, and making them understand that, hey, what I'm trying to do here is to help you, not be against you. And that's one of the key points. You need to find your own way. I can tell you my way, but you have to find your own way of pushing security through adversity. All right. So how to break into AppSec? It's all different for everyone. We all have a different background. But if I was to just do suggestions, learn to code, your classic. If you don't have a developer background, pick a language you know. It's not too late. It's never too late to learn a programming language. It's like anything in the world, you can learn it. So pick your favorite: Python, Java, C++, or .NET. And once you master that, work into getting it secure. Work on learning how do you secure this code, and learn just finding challenge online to help you achieve good code security. Certification. I already told you guys I am not a fan of certification. I think they're just papers at the end of the day. They can be great when you're trying to prove yourself, but for an AppSec world, it will cover a lot. You have your CISSP, which like I said, covers so much domain. You have your CSSLP, which focus more on SDLC, OSCP, which is very, very technical on the red team part. And those are all good. Those are all good options. But it really depends on what you're trying to develop as new skills. And you don't need to get the paper at the end of the day, but at least learn what they're trying to teach you. Understand what is the mindset that this certification wants you to get. CISSP, for example, it's a risk advisor mindset. It wants you to have a security overview from sort of like a CISO or risk advisor, and that's what CISSP is trying to teach you. It's not you're not trying to make you an expert in compliance. No, it's really trying to teach you everything all at once, and not an expert in one domain, but just all of them. So understand what the certification is trying to teach you, learn the material, and this will help you a lot. If you want to go for the paper and pay for it, all up to you. It can be great, like I said, for HR screening, or even getting the promotion for you, but at the end of the day, focus on the material. Books, it's your classic. I personally like Application Security Program, the End Book by Derek Fisher. It's a very good starting point when you're trying to build an AppSec program. And your classic Alice and Bob Learn Application Security. Capture the flags. Like I said, capture the flags are a great way to put your technical skills and your soft skills together. We have an amazing one here at Hackfest. We're very glad to have that. We have NorthSec one in Montreal. On the Discord of the Hackfest, there's many people that are doing online ones. These are going to be also great. I think in person a little bit better because you have all the stress, you have all the environment to get you to succeed, you have all the help from people around. But capture flag are a good way to learn. OMLab, my personal favorite. OMLab is amazing. Like I said, in the beginning, can you help you learn about so much stuff that you don't think you have experience with? You can learn now, and maybe people think that you might need always enterprise experience. It's better than everything, but for me, the Terraform and the Ansible experience carry me exactly one-on-one at work. I use literally the same module that I was using Terraform that I use at work. Same thing for Ansible, a little bit different, but it's very good to learn about things at home. It will in the IT world it translates easily into an enterprise level. And if you find tools you want to try and they have some sort of community free edition, go for it. Go test these tools. Go see what the competition is doing, or maybe other SaaS DaaS vendors you want to try. Try it at home. Get some experience on it. It will help you a lot. You can also learn Docker and Kubernetes. I think these are technologies that will not go away soon, so they're very good to learn. And you can be also doing bug bounty. I think it's very good to be on the user side of bug bounty. When you're on the client vendor side, I want to say of bug bounty, it's also great. Looking at reports that comes into you, but giving reports to people to their program, submitting them, reading about them, and just developing these skills in bug bounties can help you a lot. Lastly, I am no expert in soft skills, but if I was to suggest to someone how to learn soft skills, well, start with active listening. Start with understanding what people are dealing with. Start with understanding what people, what are their problems. Even more with your developers, like these people, they will not always be very good at telling you whether they're dealing with all the pressure. So, try to understand, have a good relationship with them. This will help you do a better job when you're, projecting problems or helping leadership understand what's going wrong. And also ask for feedback. I don't see this enough encouraged in the IT world. I feel we all work in our corners. We just expect our colleagues to be at the best, but ask for feedback. If you present something, you talk in the scrum, ask for feedback. Ask how you did, and just ask people what can you do to improve. All right, that was it for me. Thanks everyone. I don't want to do any question. If you have any, just come see me. All right, thanks everyone.